Notnerd Podcast, episode 261, Surrounded by Dollar Trees.
Welcome to the Notnerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Well, hello. Is that Nate there on the other end? I was hoping
is.
it would be Wes. Is Nate back?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm teasing. I'm always so happy to do the show with you.
Yes.
But it was good having Wes last week. I hope he enjoyed himself.
Yeah, that was a very fun episode with him and bringing in some fresh voice. And we are going to try to do more of that in the future. And something there's always more of, follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
And we mentioned last week, I searched all my emails to see if Wise announced a new product this week. I didn't see it, but they actually put up for pre-sale the Wise watch. And it comes in at the pre-order price of $20 plus shipping, which is insane.
Yes, and I got an email from them, and I'm like, oh, great, here's the weekly Wise product to announce that we can talk about on their show. And they actually announced that they have a blood oxygen sensor in addition to the heart rate monitor, in addition to the 9-day battery life or something crazy like that. So guess what I did? I pre-ordered that sucker for $25 with shipping.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to try this thing out. If this is even slightly good at all, I want it. Now, I have an Apple Watch, a Series 3, and I don't anticipate that it's going to replace that, but it might be fun to have.
Yeah, it looks really great. Of course, you're not going to have all of the features that an Apple Watch would, especially if you have an iPhone, but they do say you'd be able to get notifications of messages and maybe answer phone calls, so some of the basic Bluetooth stuff, but not the tight integration. It doesn't have GPS on it. It doesn't have cellular.
What? No GPS? Send it back.
Yeah. But at $25, we'll call it. If you're looking at entry level, and I actually discussed with Wes this week, and he's been going back and forth on an Apple Watch, and he said, well, this is worth a try, because if it can give me some of the stuff, they're going to have an app that works with it, the fitness tracking, the 9-day battery life. It looks to be impressive, and we have no reason to believe that Wise isn't going to come through on this.
Mm-hmm.
They do say on the website that it has limited quantity of pre-orders, and they have taken pre-orders for 369%. So whatever that means they're speeding people up at the factory. And it says 73,919 backers as of this recording, with 16 days left. So again, at $25 for some people, I understand that might be, a price too high, but for us in our line of work to get something like this for $25 to test out. Now, did you go for the larger 47 millimeter or the 44 millimeter?
Well, I thought I did the 47, so
I think that is the default.
Yeah.
And that's a little bigger screen than the Apple Watch, but it's hard to compare until you get one in your hands. But
maybe
very cool.
Like when I'm working out in the yard, I mean, like I said, I have a Series 3. It's 2 or 3 years old at this point, and it's got some nicks on it. I mean, it's not in wonderful shape, but I was thinking if I had the new $575 Series 6 and titanium gold spandex or whatever it comes in these days, I might want to use one of these other smartwatches when I'm out in the yard, or I'm, ATVing or skydiving, some of those other things that you may not want to take your expensive devices on.
Yes, indeed. And next in our follow-up, we're getting towards the end of the year, so it's the end of the year everything lists, which might look a little different this year, but Apple Music has put out a bunch of new playlists in the Browse section, and they include the Apple Music Top Songs of 200. These include the Apple Music Top Songs of 2020, both globally and for a wide range of countries. They also have most Shazammed songs, so people that songs that people hear that they like, but they don't know what they are. And they have some other lists as well. But if you're looking for some new music or looking to see what's popular, keep up with what the kids are listening to these days, you can check out those lists if within Apple Music.
And not to be outdone by Apple Music, did you see Spotify's end of year review that they do every year? That came out. So if
I have not seen that one yet, but yes, I'm sure they will all do that because it's likely that it'll get you listening to some more music.
Yeah. Well, we can follow up with that later, but check out the Spotify one if you were a Spotify subscriber. It's pretty clever the way they give you a little quiz, like, who do you think your top artist was? So it's a very interactive experience all through your Spotify app or in the web browser. But you should receive an email if that's something that you subscribe to.
Yes. And Apple Music also has a Replay 2020 playlist, which is your own most played songs too. So
yeah, fun.
Just a good tip for some music discovery or just to see what you've been listening to. And to follow up on the music, Apple has also announced their App Store Best of 2020 winners. Now, the list that I linked to in the show notes is their editorial choices. So these are the ones that they thought of, but a couple of them I had not heard of. Or the iPhone app of the year is Wake Out. It has an exclamation point, developed by Andres Canella, and I had not heard of this. It looks like it's a crowdsourced exercise type app where you can, the idea is just to do a little exercise here and there since we're all at home more and people can post videos. So it's the TikTok of workouts.
Yeah, that sounds a little sketchy. I hope they review the videos before they post them there. Here's my 20-minute nude workout.
Yes, curated to some level, especially if Apple's picking them, I'm sure. But I thought this one was interesting just because of the fact that Apple has told us by the end of the year they were going to release their fitness app and service tied to your Apple Watch and your Apple TV and everything. So I thought it was interesting that they made this pick with their own service coming out so soon. But they do say that they're recognizing 15 apps and games that prove to be essential for making life easier, healthier, and more connected this year. Notable for their high quality, creative design, usability, and innovative technology, these apps and games are equally celebrated for their positive cultural impact, helpfulness, and importance. Which is, wow, quite the bold statement for these apps. Now, the iPad app of the year, I saw some people with some issues on this one. They picked Zoom. Now, of course, everybody in the world's been using Zoom. I would say that iPad on the Zoom is not the world's best experience for Zoom. Maybe on the computer it's better. I'm used to using it on a computer. Obviously, it connects a lot of people, but you're stuck in the app. If you leave the app, your camera turns off to show something else. That one was a little bit of everybody's talking about Zoom, so we might as well pick it.
Well, I think they look at the numbers. Everybody's using it.
That's
I don't
true.
think it's like it's one of the most used, so that's why.
Yes.
And it's, used by millions, so that's probably one of the things. And I know you're going to probably keep going on talking about these, but I wanted to mention also, if you open up the article, on the bookshelf, there's an app icon trophy.
Yes.
That's an actual thing.
Yes.
I saw some app developers who'd received these, who put their video on YouTube. Very, very cool. It looks like a Mac Mini that's been painted to be an icon. So
yes, a 3D version of the App Store icon that would be very cool to put on your bookshelf for this honor. But yes, the list does go on. Apple TV App of the Year, Disney Plus. That makes a lot of sense. Fantastical, one of the many calendar apps we've talked about. And then there was some that I was not familiar with as well. Endel was the Apple Watch App of the Year. Looks like to be some sort of meditation or calming app, which we all need more of.
Yeah, I think it makes like ambient noise type stuff. I'm very interested in downloading this and checking it out. I have a couple other apps that kind of make a soundscape that can kind of block out the world while you're working or trying to sleep or do whatever.
Yes. And then they get into the games for the different devices. Were you familiar with any of these games that they announced?
Yeah, I think I actually have Genshin Impact. It was one of the ones that came out that was really heavily advertised, and I think it was pretty cheap. So I think I picked that up. It's either cheap or free. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And then after that one, I am not familiar with any of these others. Of course, there's one Sneaky Sasquatch. I guess I have seen that. That's a very popular one, but that's an Apple arcade game. And so they heavily promote that in the App Store. So that's why I'm familiar with that. So
yeah. So I did link to the official newsroom announcement from Apple. So if you want to look through there, find any of those apps, you can check that out. Well, our streaming story of the week. Warner Brothers will release all 2021 movies on HBO Max at the same time that they possibly come out in theaters, depending on your location, if that's a thing next year. But they will release them on HBO Max for, as part of your subscription for 1 month, the same time they come out at theaters. So this is pretty big news. If you'll remember, Disney Plus did Mulan 2 or whatever, the new Mulan movie, but you had to pay an extra $30 to get access to it. So this could be interesting.
And I can verify now that the Mulan movie is now unlocked and able to watch for free on the Disney Plus service. But you're right.
Okay.
Initially, it was $30 for the early adopters. And I guess they made their money back and are now making it available for free.
Yeah. So the streaming experience is still a mess, and there's a lot of different apps, but the good thing is there's a couple of good ones now, so they are becoming more competitive, which will hopefully benefit the user. And it's been a while, but it's time for some Crypto Watch. Bitcoin hit a new record this last week, just when we thought we didn't have to talk about it anymore. And one of the things that they kind of talked about is it doesn't seem to be quite the bubble it was last time, when it just went crazy and your aunt and your cousin and everybody else in the world was becoming a quote-unquote professional Bitcoin investor, and then they all lost a lot of money and probably sold their Bitcoin. Well, it is back up and hit above the point. So it went up to $19,850.11. So seems like it's kind of maybe settling in, but it's been a pretty quick rise again over the last month or couple months. So we'll, again, do not take any financial investing advice from us, and do not put your college fund into Bitcoin would be the only advice that I would give. But I could be proven to be wrong, as I have been. If you would have invested back in 2016, you'd be sitting pretty good right now.
Yeah, I never really thought that it was going to make it over 10,000 per Bitcoin. And now that it's approaching 20,000, it is incredible. It's obvious that people like to use it. So we'll see how long the wave lasts. But as I mentioned on a previous podcast, I'm using the Brave browser and I'm earning BAT, cryptocurrency, the basic attention token, and I'm using my Uphold account to transfer it over to Bitcoin. And so I've seen a steady increase in my Bitcoin value because the value of Bitcoin keeps rising, even though the basic attention token influx is rather slow, but there's still some growth there, and it's just kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, and a real-time follow-up looking at my app, it is currently at $19,189.60, so it's down a little bit from that peak, but it looks like it's kind of steady at the moment, so we will see what happens with that. I did also want to mention just really quickly, we're recording this on Sunday, December 6th, there is some rumor that Apple might be releasing a new product, doing probably not a formal announcement like we've done before on Tuesday, December 8th, but there's been some rumors for retail that, be ready on Tuesday morning, you're going to get something. So maybe we'll chime in if it's important enough with a addendum to the episode before it is released, or just talk about it next week if it's nothing too exciting.
I have an idea. It's going to be iPod Socks version 2 for your iPhone this time. Little knitted socks that you can put your devices in.
Yes, one of the greatest products ever to come out of Apple. I need to get one of those for go on eBay and see what I'll have to pay for an iPod sock for one of my old iPods sitting in front of me.
Well, it's sitting there cold. I mean,
yes.
You need to take care of that thing.
Yeah, need to take care of it. And you know what's always taken care of? Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
Well, many of us are not traveling as much as we have been in the past. And so this next tip may seem a little off base, but once you understand what I'm trying to communicate, I think you're going to recognize the importance of this week's tip. And I'm going to encourage all of you who can at this point in time to either open up the Apple Maps application on their phone or iPad or the Google Maps. This works for both. And so we're cross-platform today. But this tip is, I'm going to name it Find Business Information by Using Apple Maps or Google Maps. And I'm a professional headline writer. And so that is,
yes.
that is clickbaity
Catchy.
if I ever heard anything. We've talked about this in the past, but one of my favorite things to do, especially now during shopping time, this is why this is relevant, is finding out information about local businesses and locations without having to search the internet, going to try to find their website or some other type of information source. Much of what you're looking for can actually be found in your map applications. So, for example, if I'm in Google Maps, and I'm going to open up Google Maps real quick, and in my area, there's a Walmart nearby. So I type Walmart in the search window, and it, of course, will bring up a series of Walmarts in descending order by the distance that they are from my location. I'm going to pick the one that's 0.2 miles from my house, which is very convenient and actually costs me a lot of money in the long run. So here, if I want to find out how am I going to call this store? Well, in the Google app and also in the Apple Maps app, I can simply press the call button. It knows what the number is, and it'll just connect it to my phone, and I can call the store. Likewise, if I'm looking for their website, it's generally listed right there in the information. One of the unique things about Google Maps that is really incredible is they have popular times. And as I look today, we're recording on a Sunday around 2 o'clock. And this shows me a graph. See on my screen here.
Oh, yeah.
It has a graph going from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And it's a bar graph, and it shows what times the store is most likely to be busy. And in my case, it looks like right around 3 p.m. is going to be the busiest time for that store. So I may want to wait till 4 or 5 or 6 o'clock to go shopping there because there's going to be fewer people, especially in the midst of the COVID pandemic. Other information that I can find on the Walmart app, I can find information about individual departments. It'll link me back to their website there. I can find information about the location. For example, my local Walmart has an EV charging station. It lists that information. Anything kind of related to travel, they try to cram as much in there as they can. Now I'm going to go back over to the Apple Maps application, and I'm going to search for the same location. And as expected, Walmart shows up right near where I want to go. I swipe up on the little information card, and I get a lot of the similar information, the website, the address, the phone number, etc. I see here useful to know information. There's parking available. Well, that's a good thing if I'm going to drive to Walmart that there's parking available. They accept credit cards. They offer delivery services. That's good to know. They even break down the pharmacy's times that the pharmacy is open.
Oh.
And the grocery area, the hours that area is open, because our Walmart's a super Walmart that's got a grocery store in it. And unique to the Apple Maps, they've integrated with Yelp. Yelp is kind of the business review website where you can find more information. People write reviews. So there's a couple top reviews of what people are saying from Yelp. And they even go farther by offering similar places nearby. I can see that there's a Dollar Tree, a Target, and another Dollar Tree. I'm surrounded by Dollar Trees. And since it's Apple and I have the Walmart app on my phone, it'll even give me a link to open the app if I want to. Oh. So if you are traveling out and about this holiday season and you're wanting to know, is this store open? Is this store closed? Maybe it's Christmas Eve, which can be a little dicey, right? Like on Thanksgiving, many of the stores that are traditionally open were closed this year. And if you would have had either the Apple or the Google Maps application, you could have just simply looked up the location. It would have showed you the hours. It would have said closed, and you could save yourself a trip. So check out the map apps before you go anywhere for your Christmas shopping. And I will have saved Christmas, and you'll say, Dave, this tip is a Christmas miracle.
Yes, I agree, and I will say it's good for everything because hours, I mean restrictions, hours, all of that stuff is changing every day. And please, if you have your own company, if you work for a company where people come to you or need to be able to contact you, make sure you go into these places and keep that information updated because there has been a lot of change in what's open, what's not, and I know, like in Oregon, all restaurants were closed for dine-in for a long time, and so everybody updated their Google My Business, is what it's called on that side. And then when the restaurants started to open back up in June, they did not update again. So you would search for something and it would say carry out only, and it's like, oh, that's a bummer. But then maybe you'd go to their website and it'd say dine in and now available, or Google My. So please make sure somebody at the company you work for or get that stuff updated because it is such a useful tool that it's good to be able to count on it and know when stuff's available and when it is not. Our takes of the week. Dave, I think we need to buy some plane tickets because February 4th, Super Nintendo World opens in Japan.
Yes, I'm excited to travel over there day one and go through the Super Nintendo Mario World thing. I watched a video on this, and it's an incredible facades that look like you're inside a Mario video game.
Yeah.
They have a Mario Kart course, and you wear these kind of holographic lensed helmet that show you augmented stuff going on that, like, I don't know, maybe the little cloud guy is floating by.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going on. But I'm joking around. I'm not really going to be traveling to Japan and go there, but I really want to. It seems really fun. Is this something that you'd be interested in, especially maybe taking Isla to? Is she privy to Mario and his ways?
Yes, she is very into Mario, and we play a couple of the games here and there on like Super Mario Run, but she knows Mario and Luigi and Princess Peach, and so it would be a very cool thing. Obviously, Japan isn't the easiest place to get to, but it is through Universal Studios Japan, so maybe Universal Studios in LA, but I've been to the California Adventure and Cars World at Disneyland. I mean, the Cars World, just that immersive environment, which this would be even more fun for me being, Nintendo themed, but looks very cool. So if any of you listeners, I don't know how many listeners we have in Japan or that frequent Japan, I could see Jared planning a family trip for this right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be very cool. So I will be excited to see, and maybe someday I'll make it to Japan or they'll make one closer to us.
Looking forward to it.
Yes. Apple quietly upgraded the quality of FaceTime calls to 1080p from 720p, and it goes back to the iPhone 8, which I thought was pretty impressive. Now, you do need to be on Wi-Fi unless you have an iPhone 12 with 5G. It won't go over your cell connection because that could eat up your data really quick. I did notice a guy that I do a lot of work with. I was talking to him on FaceTime one night, and I just go out of nowhere, "Did you get a new phone?" And he goes, "Yeah, I did. How'd you know?" I go, "Man, your video quality." He had an old phone. And so he had upgraded. I think he got an iPhone 11 maybe. But this is nice. Video calls have come a long way, and to have an update like this, and again, it's great when Apple does something like this that goes back to the iPhone 8, several years of phones, instead of saying, "Oh, you only can do it on the latest model."
It's amazing that they went out into the world. They must have used technology pioneered by Santa Claus to go into everyone's house and update the camera on their phone by switching out the lenses or whatever they do. Now, my guess is they've used software, they've made it more efficient, and so that the computer can run faster so that it can support that. So I think it's great that Apple continues to support older devices. Just the other night, I was, this is first world problems. I collect iOS devices, right? And so I had no less than 5 iPhone 5s and 5Ss and one iPhone SE that looks exactly the same, except for a little icon on the back.
Yeah.
And one of them had an application on it that I wanted to use, but they were all dead because, of course, the batteries are all terrible on them. And so I'm charging them up and I'm doing all this stuff. I was surprised when they said, hey, there's a new update. And I'm like, this is an iPhone 5S. This thing is from like 8 years ago or whatever at this point. I don't even know how old it is. But they're still supporting and updating these devices. I'm genuinely surprised that most of the time when I turn on older devices, there's some type of fix or an update. So the amount of time that Apple supports older devices is more than generous. More than generous. You can count on 4 years plus on many of these devices.
Yep, very cool. Salesforce is not a company that we talk about often on the podcast, if ever, but it is a huge monolith in the sales service world.
They're on brand, at least.
Yeah. Salesforce. They are a force in sales. So they picked a good name, but they started out, it was more of an enterprise type CRM or customer relationship management tool. But they now have some lower end ones that, smaller businesses can afford. It used to be this major undertaking to get set up with it, but they have a lot of different tools. So you might be familiar with them, but it's not as flashy and fun outside of the sales and business world. But they announced that they are buying Slack, which is a business chat tool, for $27.7 billion with a B dollars.
This is incredible. This tops pretty much any software purchase that I'm aware of. I mean, it was a big deal when Microsoft bought Minecraft for $1 billion. Yeah. But $27.7 billion. It is incomprehensible how much money that is.
Yeah. And Slack is a very popular tool. You and I have both used it on occasion. I think we even used it for the show notes for a short while in one of the dozens of tools we've tried for that.
Yeah, you wussed out, so we're back on Apple Notes. But
yeah, I love my Apple Notes. But yeah, $27.7 billion. And they just, of course, say we think this is going to be a great tool within our assortment of tools and integration. But that is so much money.
Just don't mess it up is all I ask for.
Yes.
Just, like other companies who have purchased things and messed them up. Looking at you, Facebook. Don't do this. Keep it nice and pristine. And I think Salesforce will be a good steward.
Yes. So they have purchased a lot of other companies. Back in 2016, apparently they were interested in buying Twitter. Salesforce was. So, that is quite the valuation for Slack. But, a lot of people swear by it. And to, have more of the total package for business tools, I think it'll end up working out good for them. So pretty crazy. Our last take of the week this week is an interesting story that I saw. Obviously, a lot of people are shopping online. The numbers are out, especially with holiday shopping as busy as it is, that UPS is placing limits on some retailers on how many packages they can ship out. UPS reportedly told its drivers on Cyber Monday to stop picking up packages at some of the largest U.S. retailers in the U.S.
I mean, there's a finite amount of room on the trucks. There's a finite amount of trucks and a finite amount of drivers. I mean, there has to be an end at some point where they're at capacity and say, we can't do any more. And it's interesting that we've, in 2020, have finally found out where that line is. Yeah. Because in the past, it seems like, the capacity is nowhere near full. So this is an interesting thing to have reached here in the holiday season of 2020.
Yes, as with many things this year, many factors playing into that, and they say companies like Nike and Gap and Macy's, LL Bean, Hot Topic, Newegg, that they just can't handle all of the packages that they're shipping out as everybody moves to ship online. Now, again, this is where an advantage comes to Amazon, since they have worked so hard on creating their own shipping system and fleet and those blue trucks that are everywhere.
They saw the writing on the wall a long time ago and said, we better get our own trucks out there or we're going to hit capacity.
Yes, and I don't know who needs to hear this, but I will say that this is a great reminder as we get further into December that if you, like me, like to wait to the last minute to do your holiday shopping, try to move that up a week or two, because everything's just going to be a little bit slower this holiday, because as people are, again, everything is moving to online, and there's going to be delays and there's going to be shortages. So get your holiday shopping done a little early this year.
Yeah, and I'm kind of disappointed to hear that I might not be getting my Hot Topic shipment of my my rocker T-shirt with like the big tongue on it or whatever. I'm really sad about that. And my eyebrow ring I ordered from them. So.
Yeah. Yes, all the goodies there. Every once in a while, they have a crazy clearance sale, and I think that Mario calendar thing I got you was from a Hot Topic clearance sale, or maybe it was something else going out of business. But yes, great memories of Hot Topic.
They do have some fun stuff like that, but usually it's not a store that I frequent too often.
Yes. At the end of the article, they do mention, I saw some other coverage of, we just got done with Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and they mentioned that online sales reached 10.8 billion with a B dollars on Monday, setting a record for the largest e-commerce shopping day ever. And that's from Adobe, which does a lot of metrics on shopping. So they track transactions from 80 of the top 100 retailers, which is just insane. Our security and privacy story of the week. This one, we were just talking last week in our story with Wes about how, honor amongst thieves. Well, account hijacking site OG Users hacked again. So OG Users is a online forum where people trade and sell personal information, payment information, all that stuff. Apparently their database was hacked, and somebody was trying to sell people maybe their own information back or releasing information. So it just never ends with this stuff.
Yeah, this is an interesting story for sure.
Yeah, Mel, our bonus odd take of the week. This one is extremely interesting. You came across this, and I saw it a couple places as well. This guy was able to boot a computer off of a vinyl record.
This is crazy. Yeah, so, I mean, you might remember cassette tapes was one of the mediums that they used to get computer information onto the computer. It's a magnetic tape that has data on it, and when you play it, it converts the data to sounds. Sounds are interpreted by the computer and transferred back into data. So it's not unheard of that you could store the sound information in another location. And so somebody obviously has a vinyl record press, which I don't know how you get your hands on one of those things, but mastered it to a vinyl record, pressed it, and then played it back through this cassette mechanism by, altering it a bit, and it seemed to work. What a crazy, kind of the most hipster way to boot your computer I've ever heard of.
Yes. So unlike the vinyl record for music craze that has been upon us for a while here, I don't see this catching on. You are pretty limited. It's a pretty limited version of DOS and not something anybody would want to use, but he does have a video showing, and make sure you turn the volume down a little bit on that, because it is a much more screeching version than like your modem sounds that we remember so fondly.
And the information density on a 10-inch disc is going to be very limited. So
yes.
I think he's got DOS boot disk 64K. It's a 45-minute record. So it takes 45 minutes to play 64 kilobytes of data is what I'm interpreting from that.
Yes.
So it's not the most efficient way. And if you wanted to boot a modern operating system, you'd probably have to have tens of thousands of these disks, and it'd take you years. So
yes,
not very practical, but very cool nonetheless.
Yes, but what's always practical and cool are picks of the week.
Well, you've got that right. I've got a practical pick for this week. Say that 5 times fast. This application I've talked about before, but I recently shared with a friend, Spark by Readle. And I say Spark by Readle because that's what they go by, but in the sea of applications, You just type Spark in there, who knows what you're going to come up. So the company that makes it is Readle, Readdle, and they make a variety of applications for iOS and Mac and even some Android stuff. So I recommend looking at some of their other tools as well. They've got a calendar, and I think there's one of those little scanner apps and various other ones. But the email app has a feature that is just fire. It is the best feature ever. And that is search emails by sender. And this works on the Mac version and the iOS version. They do have an Android app as well. And Windows is coming soon, they say, or they have an icon on their website that says, if you're interested in Windows, click here and give us your name and we'll let you know when it's available. But regardless of your platform of choice, one of the most frustrating things about email is you're inundated by email newsletters and stuff from people, and you click the unsubscribe and then you get 5 more because they say, hey, this is a real live email address, and they sell your email information to somebody else. And so you may stop getting it sent to you from that one sender, but then there's 10 more. It's like the Hydra. You cut off the head and more heads appear. What I do often is I go through my email and I'll find something from, like, let's say Best Buy's newsletter that comes out very frequently. All you have to do, in the iOS version anyway, is click and hold on the email, and there's a menu that comes up of options. You can select it or mark it as read or whatever. But search emails by sender will auto-populate the search function, and when you hit search, we'll find every other email from that sender. And then in 2 clicks, you can say select all, and then one more click to hit the delete button or archive button or whatever you want to do with them, and they're gone. If you have 40 emails from this thing, in 3 or 4 clicks, you can eliminate them all. Wow. And I've seen my inbox, which can sometimes reach over 1,000 unread messages on kind of my spam account. When I go through and right click and do all this stuff, it goes down 1,000, 800, 700, it goes down rather quickly. Wow. So if you're not using Spark by Readle, I recommend you get it because it comes in at the low cost of free for iOS, Android, and your Mac. Wow. And the search by sender function is available on the Mac as well.
Very cool. That is sounds like a great feature. Well, I'm going to keep my streak alive, kind of, with my cables thing. And Dave, I have got a product here.
You said it was going to be a surprise.
Yes. Now, we love our AirPods. Mm-hmm. If this is your first time listening, we haven't mentioned it this episode, but AirPods have been a game changer. I realize we're coming up on 4 years that we've had AirPods now. It seems like just yesterday, and I also cannot imagine life before them. Well, we briefly mentioned this product a couple weeks ago when I first saw it, and I was talking to a client of mine, and he works in a wood shop. It's actually more of a partner, but he's wood shop, metalwork, all this stuff. And he always wearing headphones with a wire, and it's just a mess.
He's going to kill himself in a wood shop with a wired headset.
So I said, well, have you tried AirPods? Well, his wife has some, and he had tried those out. Well, I was reminded of this product, Dave, and these are the Beats Flex headphones. Now, you might have heard of Beats before. It's the Dr. Dre's brand that Apple purchased. And the Beats Flex they're wireless, so they work over Bluetooth, but they have the behind the neck wire that you have seen and was more traditional with what we would call wireless headsets or headphones. Now, the great advantage on these is these have the Apple W1 chip in them, the same chip that your AirPods would have. And so they have some great advantages. You open them up, and I've got a video that I'm working on the end of the review that I'll be posting. I'll link to that in the show notes, kind of with my initial review. But he had me order him a pair of the Beats Flex, and he said, you know what, thank you so much for that, order yourself a pair on my card. So I got these the other week, got them opened up. I've been trying them out the last couple days. Now, it's different than your AirPods, and I am so used to AirPods, I keep tapping on the ear to play and pause my music. That doesn't work. There is some little controls on the kind of the little bumps that sit on your shoulder. There's volume, there's power, and there's also a start-stop button. Another thing on these is I charged them up overnight, started in the morning, and all day yesterday, I had them on all day. I wasn't using them all day. They still have battery life this morning. I believe they claim up to 12 hours of listening time, which should get you through any day. They do charge via USB-C cable. I believe after I get done with this review, most of the time I will go back to my AirPods. Couple problems I've found for myself. I have a ridiculously huge mustache, and with corded headphones, that gets complicated. They're also get a little complicated with masks, putting on and off masks that we're all wearing at various times. But they are great if you would rather have something hanging around your neck. Now, in the ear pods portion, there are tiny magnets in there. So when it's around your neck, it becomes a little fashion piece, and they can hang off there. Yeah. And the technology is built in, since it doesn't have the tapping features or the ear detection, that when you separate them, you can answer a phone call that way. So if they're hanging around your neck, your phone's ringing, you just separate them, put them in your ear, and it will connect. And you can also, it'll pause them when you put the magnets together. So I don't think they're the use case for me, but the other advantage, they're $50.
Wow, that's great.
So you're getting a lot of technology that you get in the AirPods. And they're just a different use case. They come with some different rubber tips. They are very cool, though, and I'm really enjoying them. I'm thinking maybe around the house, maybe I'll wear them more. But there's a good use case on these. And at $50, if you're looking for some wireless earphones, check out the Beats Flex. And watch my video, too. I'll have a link to that on YouTube, just kind of talking through the unboxing. And then the second part will be kind of my review after using them for a few days.
Yeah, I'm very interested in seeing that video. I've been intrigued by those. And maybe you said it, but aren't they around $50? What is the price on those?
Yeah, $49.88 on Amazon right now.
What a bargain.
Well, now is when we would usually go and do our Ramazon purchase of the week. All of you great people shopping through our Amazon links, and we are part of the affiliate program, so we get a kickback. Well, my mother told me that I should not be looking at the anonymous reports because things from my wish list are probably being purchased on there this time of year. And I figured, you know what? There might be some other people using our links to buy stuff for other listeners on the show. So we're going to take a couple weeks off from the Ramazon purchase of the week. But I did want to remind people, over on our website at notnerd.com, we have a Pix store, and it has it's set up like an e-commerce shop, but they are just affiliate links to different products that we picked. We don't have a lot of stuff on there, but there might be some good reminders, and I'm working on getting more stuff added, so I will keep you updated on that. And I also will mention, because it just reminded me, you should really always have an Amazon wish list. Just keep a thing when you see something that you're not going to buy right now, but you'd like at some point. It is a lifesaver for my wife and my mother purchasing gifts for me. And we have one for Isla. So every toy she always says that she likes, we can add that stuff on there and share that with people to be able to buy gifts, because it's great to get a gift that you actually like. And sometimes it's hard to think of things in the moment. So Amazon wish lists are great for that.
That is a great tip. And I'm going to review my wish list, because I'll occasionally put stuff in there. And then I'm like, did I really want that thing? Or
I know. Yes. My mom is good about saying, hey, is your Amazon wish list updated? And so go in there, and there are a couple things where it's like, what was I thinking on that? Okay, with that, it is probably time to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for listening, as always. Give the gift of Notnerd podcast this Christmas. Free subscription.
The best gift ever.
Yes, grab people's phones and subscribe them to the podcast, and then remind them to listen. It just makes sense. And as always, get out there and tech better. Thought you froze for a second there.
Oh,
You were holding too still. It was last Christmas that I rushed through and did like our top 10s, and haven't added any since then.
There's Cabbage Patch dolls in there. It's been so long.
Yeah.
Transformer toy.
Oh.